Canada is a northerly, very cold country. Vancouver is Canada's sunbelt. The result of all this popularity is a scarcity of housing, which forces real estate prices way up. High-rise condos are growing in number, and smaller, less expensive dwellings are disappearing.
Every moment begins with a question. What if we build housing not for profit, but for people?
Housing is a basic human right.
Everybody knows if you don't have secure housing, you can't do anything.
We have to do something, and I think co-op's the answer.
Out of crisis came community and a new way of living together. In the 1970s and 80s, tenants, teachers, and city planners joined forces to turn ideals into action.
I'd already been evicted twice, and I thought, okay, we have to stop this from happening.
It was a time rooted in solidarity and driven by the belief that everyone deserves a stable, affordable home.
They had meetings at the house, so right from the ground floor, they were making decisions.
Some of the newest units coming online are co-op apartments, a co-op being a collective, owned and operated by those who live in it. One reason is that the Canadian government makes low-cost loans available to start them. Another reason is the Columbia Housing Advisory Association. Columbia has helped start nearly 1,500 co-op housing units in the Vancouver region.
I get a phone call from Shirley Schmidt, and she says, Elaine, are you ready to go back to work? We need you. I said, what do you need me for? I'm a teacher. I know nothing about developing housing, construction, planning, nothing. She said, well, neither did I when I started. So that's how I ended up working at Columbia Housing.
These early pioneers laid the foundation for what would become a province-wide movement.
Vancouver has a brand new neighborhood, False Creek, just across from downtown. It looks like an ultra-posh suburb, but False Creek is a 50-50 mix of expensive rentals and condos and low-cost, not-for-profit housing. False Creek is the result of creative cooperation among the city, private developers, and various civic and charitable organizations. In inflationary times such as these, a residential co-op is a stout ship on a stormy sea.
This co-op is for the community that lives here. It's to nurture the community, is bringing in, families, make sure that we've got, kids coming in here.
The Quebec Manor Apartments has just gone co-op, also under the guidance of Columbia Housing. When the Quebec Manor Co-op got a government loan to buy the structure from the former landlord, they had to agree to make several important alterations. But what's really important is that the tenants of the building's nearly 40 units will have a place to live without fear of being forced out by rising rents.
It was really important that they respected the issue about income. So there you go, some social justice in the midst of creating affordable housing.
Once co-ops were built, members had to learn how to run them together.
The more people that are educated, the better involvement in the co-op and the better decision making too.
It's not just cheaper rent because you're sharing it with other people. You need to be more aware of all of the picture of what makes this possible, makes it what it is.
Through shared governance, mentorship, and education, members built the skills and the confidence to lead.
Housing cooperatives provide that opportunity for people to have a say in how their housing co-op is run in their community, but also as a sector. That gives them a platform for a voice, not only in their local communities, but at a provincial level and a federal level.
Co-op housing is an empowerment model. So anyone who is lucky enough to land in a co-op home has the opportunity to engage in the governance of their co-op, to learn new skills, to build themselves out of the poverty cycle, and that makes a better world.
As co-ops grew, they became more than homes. They became communities that reflect the people within them.
The housing co-op model of having community members work together to their mutual benefit to satisfy a shared need is a pretty good thing to be doing. Like, I still think that defines social purpose.
And if we've developed that community, that first community where everyone feels included, we can take a break, they can take over, and I can take over when they need a break. You think of that, how strong that is. You think about that resilience.
For me, home is a feeling. Right? Home is that place in the world where you feel safe, where you feel secure, where you feel comfortable to be yourself, your uniquely authentic self.
This is what makes housing co-ops extraordinary. Not just affordable, but alive with shared responsibility and care. Decades later, the challenge became keeping co-ops strong for the next generation.
The problem with capitalism is the snapshot it uses doesn't look at the whole picture, doesn't look at healthy communities like in a co-op. You know, you can be financially okay, but you know, you need other things. You know, your building needs to be in good shape. Your community needs to be in good shape. It's those kinds of things, is having a more holistic approach.
I would say to myself, you know, if not this, what? And cooperatives were the first thing that I heard of that seemed to provide something of an answer to that.
You know, having lived in a co-op, understood that while it was the members' home, it was the co-op's units. How we had a responsibility to make sure that we were managing the needs of everyone and not just those who had the loudest voices.
Co-ops are fragile things, and so that's why federations of co-ops are so critical, because they provide a structure that can support the weaker people and help them through difficult times.
You know, why is there not a stronger co-op housing program? You know, if you look at it, it just makes so much sense.
I think the land trust, my mom was all for. What she really hoped is the co-op sector could start to just do the co-op sector on its own, to be financially secured, initiation, building of co-ops and all that kind of stuff. So land trust was a great idea.
The real challenge in running a co-op well these days is in long-term asset management and envisioning a future that might well entail the redevelopment of the co-op. That's why CHF BC's planning and renewal services and the community land trusts development and asset management services, I think, have become so key to the future of housing co-ops in BC, because that's the real challenge we face.
With the community land trust, that really focuses on the fact that if we're going to grow the co-op housing sector, if we're going to have a net growth, like we can't just keep building new co-op homes and then losing older co-op homes. So they're balancing both through acquisition and through new builds, because there's nobody else, in my humble opinion, that is going to come to the table first and foremost and say, we're going to develop and build new co-op homes.
The next 5 to 10 years are really going to be a period of growth for the Community Land Trust, and I'm excited to see that future.
As we look to the future, the spirit of cooperation that was born generations ago lives on.
Housing co-ops are the unicorn of the housing world, and more people need to have unicorns in their lives.
The last time I went there, I went to talk to some of the people about the history of the co-op. One of the young people afterwards ran after me when I was leaving and said, "Thank you for making this happen," because it's a home. So you can really see that it's not just like we were doing it for ourselves as renters, but something that's happened, you know, more than 40 years ago is still there, making a difference in people's lives.